to first. The Angels have no hit. The Seattle Mariners racing back to the track. Gone! Big fly for Mike Trout. There it is. Hit number 3,000 for Albert Pujols. Gone! Big fly, Ohtani shot. Walshot leaps up, and he got it. Oh, my! Jared has no hit. The Minnesota Twins. The Angels, world champions.
Hello and welcome to Halfway Around the Halo, the LA Angels UK podcast. I am Nick Wright at LA Angels UK and all your favourite platforms, and I'm delighted to be here for Season 8, Episode 2, and our opening day season preview podcast. Of course, I'm joined by Toby Barnes. Toby, how are you?
I am very well, thank you. I am currently in Rome, Italy, where I ran the marathon yesterday, so my legs are feeling a little bit worse for wear at the minute, so that's why my surroundings look a little bit, I might sound a little bit different to usual, but that's because I'm in a very echoey Airbnb right now.
But I think everybody deserves to give you a round of applause for that. Is that your first marathon? Have you done them before? It's
my second one. Seasoned veteran listeners will remember I ran in 2024, I ran the London Marathon for charity. This time, I'm not going to say it was for fun because it wasn't really fun, but it was more for leisure. Managed to get a huge PB by kind of over 4 minutes. So was happy with the end result. Wasn't happy during it, but was happy with the end result.
I mean, that's absolutely incredible. You said that I actually went on the Rome Marathon website and looked at the timings on that. Looked like you went off quite fast and you're feeling good up until about the halfway point, and then it seemed like something changed.
The stomach didn't agree with me just after halfway. Let's put it that way, and it was downhill from there. But we managed a sprint finish, so that's all.
That is all that matters. And actually, the stomach not agreeing with you is a perfect segue into Angels baseball. We have a head this season, so I really like that. I see, before we get on to Angels baseball as well, for those watching on the video, you'll notice this. For those listening, less so I'll try and give you a visual. Toby is wearing a Coventry City top. Coventry City, currently in the Championship, have been out the Premier League for a very long time, but are looking like they are finally on their way back up to the Premier League, just as my team, Tottenham Hotspur, look like they are going to get relegated. Toby, are you feeling good about that one?
Yeah, so you posted on your socials earlier today, do any sports fans have it worse than you with the Angels being so bad and Spurs currently in dire straits? So I thought I had to throw on the shirt of a successful team to remind everyone that all hope isn't lost for the team. 9 points clear in the Championship, potentially swapping places with Spurs in the next few weeks or so. 8 games to go, 9 games to go, somewhere around there. And yeah, looking all good for the mighty Sky Blues.
It really is. But it's about time, and I don't begrudge you that. They deserve to come back up. But I did say, as you said on social media, does anybody have it worse than me right now in terms of where Tottenham are compared to where they're supposed to? And just perpetual
Only
failure.
Football and baseball terms.
Only football and baseball. If you support,
we're not talking NFL.
If you support a football team and a baseball team, I don't think you probably have it much worse than me right now, how things are going. I said the Angels just perpetually keep losing. 10-year losing record in a row, 11 years since the playoffs, 16 years since a playoff victory. This is as bad as it gets. And also, a club the size of Tottenham having a season like this and getting relegated just should never happen with the money we have. It is just miserable, utterly miserable.
Yeah, but we are the podcast of positivity. So let's hopefully spurn some positivity today, talking about the Angels season preview.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. We'll preview the season. Before we do that, Toby, I just want to show you. I found, was it last season? There was the big thing at the start of the year where New Era had made these caps, which had put a big A over logos and effectively made the Angels one look like it said Anals, right? Do you remember?
Yes, they put the big logo in front of like the actual team name.
Yeah.
The Arrow logo.
So it said Anal. Well, I actually found amongst my merch this hat, which is an actual, I believe it was a giveaway from the Angels many, many years ago, which I was gifted some time ago, and I found it in my closet. And now I've got my very own Anals hat. So
wow.
it doesn't quite fit my head. I've got to be honest. It is big, but there we go. What do you think?
I think it's perfect. It might become even more relevant as the season progresses.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a giveaway. And at some point during the year, somebody else can own this fine Anals hat, and maybe we'll have to think about what it is during the course of this show. Actually, if you have any suggestions, if you're listening to this, have any suggestions of what giveaway, what competition should we do to own this hat, please do let us know, because I think it's a collector's item for someone, isn't it?
Definitely. There'll be an Angels collector out there somewhere.
Yeah, right. Let's move on to Angels baseball then. So this is our second podcast of the year. We are 3 days out from opening day. We're very much ready to go. I'm ready for baseball now. I mean, I think the spring is long. It was always nice to see them back on the field, but it doesn't matter. But now we're at the crunch stage. And actually, it's been quite an interesting spring, I think, in terms of decision-making for the roster and where we are. Before we get into sort of the wider discussion of how we think the Angels will do, let's just break down some of these big positional decisions that have been made and actually some of the things we foresee in the future. So let's start with the rotation. So the rotation, through poor performance / injury / everything else, we have a very much a different rotation to I think what we were expecting to start the year. I think Jose Soriano getting the nods on opening day is right for me. I think he is the Angels' best starting pitcher, particularly with Stuff. Then we got Kikuchi, and we know Reed Detmers back in the rotation. Now, Reed Detmers hasn't had a great spring, but we'll get to him there. And then the big news, I think, is Jack Kahanowitz coming in at 4 in that rotation. And then we got Ryan Johnson coming in there in 5th as 5th slot in the rotation, which going into spring, I don't think anybody saw coming. But Toby, what are your initial thoughts on that as our starting 5 to begin the year?
I mean, you prefaced your fact of spring saying it doesn't really matter, but clearly it matters a bunch to the Angels, because these two guys, especially Kahanowitz and Johnson, have really pulled themselves to the fore. They've looked like changed pitchers, as Kahanowitz especially. I know he was working in the off-season at changing some things with his delivery, and it's looked like it's changed. He's up, I think, 1.5 miles an hour on his fastball, and it's looked much improved. So I'm pleased for him. Ryan Johnson made the opening day roster last year, having not thrown in the minors. Looks kind of slightly out of his depth, obviously, as you're going to do. But no, I'm pleased that he's come back and looked good. And obviously, it's not as pleasing for Grayson Rodriguez, who the Angels traded Taylor Ward for, obviously, last year now, to have a dead arm before the season even starts, and going to be starting the season on the. So that's kind of a bit of a negative side of it. But no, I'm happy that these two guys have kind of put their names out ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I'm on the fence with it. Personally, like, Jack Kahanowitz last year was awful to watch. It was the fact we were running him out there every 5th day, and it was quite painful at times, wasn't it? I mean, we were all waiting for the demotion, which came far too late in the season. And so the thought of him being back in the rotation to start the year is really filling me with a bit of dread, to be quite honest. I really hope, as you said, the improvements carry themselves through into the regular season, but I'm not so optimistic. On Ryan Johnson, again, I mean, the stuff's there. He obviously, when he went down into the minors and started games, was performing well. He looks like a prospect. He definitely looked out of place last year in the majors, other than a few innings. It's a big jump again for his development to be thrown straight back into a major league rotation to start a year. That 4 and 5 worries me, particularly because we don't know what Detmers is going to do at that 3 spot either. Yes, he was good out the bullpen last year. We've had mad inconsistency from him previously in the rotation. It does concern me. Alek Manoah, been injured, but also looked, not good at all, to put it politely. I was going to be quite strong there, but I will hold back on him for now because he hasn't pitched for the Angels in a competitive game. But he wasn't looking great either. And obviously, the Grayson Rodriguez news really does concern me, that once again he is injured to start a year, having not pitched all of last year. And just, we've traded away friend of the show, Taylor Ward, for a guy that already is showing ill health and the inability to get on the field. So I said on the last podcast, I thought our rotation was going to be good this year. That was caveated on a few factors. now I've seen a month's worth of spring and on where we are with things, I'm slightly less optimistic, I will say.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with you that it's not going to be as good as we hoped because of, like I say, injuries and poor performance. But there is plenty of promise there. It seems to be a thing that it's just like kind of hoping things will change, hoping things will be different, hoping things will improve. And yeah, that's all the Angels can do. That's all they have to live off. All they have to live off is hope, or kind of players getting back to previous form, or kind of hoping things will drastically improve. And that's where they're at, unfortunately.
It is, but I think Soriano's going to be good. I think Kikuchi, you're getting. I really do hope for Reed Detmers because I did once watch him throw a no-hitter. I know I've never mentioned this before on the podcast, but I was there when he threw his no-hitter. Like, that was one of the greatest moments in the last decade of Angels baseball.
What else were you there for?
I don't want to talk about it. I just want to keep it on the down low, especially because one of those things was Tony hitting a left-handed homer. Still on the 40-man as well. Hopefully, in the next couple of days, we'll be rid of him from that. Once he goes,
I think that's one of the last home. I think that was the last home run he hit as an Angel.
It would not surprise me. Shohei Ohtani also hit his first Grand Slam in the US. I don't know if you've heard of that guy. He used to play for the Angels. Now plays for the Scum up the freeway.
Doesn't ring a bell.
No, well, that was, I was also there for Caleb Cowart's first ever home run, so probably equal magnitude on those things in Halo's history. But yeah, we'll see on the rotation. There is some promise there. I think Soriano is going to make a big jump. I really hope Kahanowitz is real and Johnson can find his groove in the majors because it would make a big difference. We didn't touch on George Klassen either. I know he got smacked around a little bit last night after a really promising start, 4 punch-outs, some big guys in that Dodgers lineup. He then lost his command a bit, which is always the problem with him. But the stuff is clearly there. The potential is there. Hopefully back in the minors can work on that and he'll make his way into the rotation at some point this year. There is some depth there in the starting ranks, I think, from the youngsters.
Robert Urena as well.
Well, he's made the pen. I was going to get onto the pen. So, Toby, let's jump onto the pen then from that. Robert Urena, he's going to be the long reliever. Again, slightly concerned in terms of development, whether that's the right spot for him at this stage, having had a really good spring, whether you want him to keep getting consistent innings, keep building himself up in the minors. Instead, the Angels have gone down that path where they've thrown him into the majors and see what he can do. What do you think about that decision, but also what you've seen from the other pen arms over the spring, noting that, once again, Robert Stevenson is dead. Ben Joyce looks like he's going to be out for a little bit too. The back end of the pen is looking a bit sketchy without the clear-cut guy. Yeah, Toby, thoughts on the bullpen right now?
I think concerned would be a little bit of an understatement. With Robert Urena, he's a starter, and we've seen it time and time again with the Angels, rushing guys to the majors, thinking, oh, this guy's ready, throw him in the bullpen. He gets a couple of appearances, and it just stunts his development. So I really hope this is the one that they don't make the mistake on, but I just can't help but thinking it's going to be another occasion of the Angels hindering a player's development by not giving them the time that they need in the minor leagues. That's what the minor leagues are there for, to make sure a guy is completely ready. And I don't think Urena is a guy who's ready. He's shown it in the spring, but as you've alluded to, the spring games don't hugely matter. So give him another year, let him progress some more, let him actually look like a proven starter in the minors this year, and then call him up later in the year, or use him as a controllable arm to swap around with. If Kahanowitz and Johnson struggle, swap them around there, give them a chance. Don't stick with the bullpen and potentially not need it. Kurt Suzuki did say that there will be innings for him because of how guys are restricted in April, especially, or kind of March and April especially. So hopefully there are plenty of chances for him, but you never. And then back in the bullpen, I mean, it's throwing however many darts and hoping one of them lands. They're kind of proven major league guys, I guess, but trying to recapture previous form is never something the Angels have done that well. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I think it's such a weird position for the Angels to be in. And it just it's just another sign of where the failures come from. That, and on the one hand, they pretend that they're trying to compete, and they're rushing guys to the majors because they're drafting major league ready players that can do little time in the majors and come in the minors and come into the major league team and have an impact. And they're doing the same thing with the pitchers. Look, if your guy is ready, if he's shown a few things in the minors or shown a bit in spring, let's stick him in the major team and see what he can do. It's just nonsense, because on the one hand they're doing that, but then at the same time we're not getting any better, we're not spending any money, and actually we're then not developing our prospects either. So we're in this continued perpetual state of failure, and where we don't progress anywhere. So every time we do this, we are setting back a development. And yes, at some point we should actually aim for having a down year. We should aim for having 2 down years. Not just let it happen as it has been, but generally just prioritize that development. You don't rush people. You put in your players on minimum veteran contracts and just play out a season, and chuck them out there, chuck out some vets that you don't need, that doesn't matter to, but you let the development happen in the minors so that in 2-3 years time, you can actually start fielding competitive teams with guys that are developed properly, with talent that's developed properly, and then supplement that with signing players. Instead, what we're doing is absolutely stupid, and we fall for it every year, and we keep losing every year because it's just that middle ground where nothing works and nothing gets better.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it enough times that we believe that the reason the Angels have to draft kind of college juniors and seniors who are like more major league ready is because they don't trust their player development system. They don't trust guys to develop in the minors, so they have to take guys who they don't need to develop because they don't believe that they can develop them. So look at the draft last year. They took Bremner out of Santa Barbara, who's a proven college pitcher, because they don't want or don't trust or can't develop him. So he might be one that gets some action at some point, maybe earlier than he should this year. So yeah, it's like you say, it happens every year, and I don't know why anyone's surprised by it, because they always make these decisions. But yeah, at some point, something's got to change.
I agree. And the back end of the pen, I mean, the pen generally, there's so many names in there and no one you can trust. One guy that's had a good spring, which maybe he's turned the corner, Sam Backman. So the former first rounder finally looked like he could put it all together. Again, health is going to be the major thing for him, but he could be a piece that you look at the back end of that pen that could do something for us. Obviously, you mentioned you got your Yates, Pomerantz, Romano, much of a muchness, all had like okay springs. Brent Suter, they signed, didn't they, from the Reds last year. There's just a lot of names out. We know that Ryan Stefferjohn's coming back, who we were all really happy with the first half of last year and thought he was great. And then he really fell off a cliff, didn't he, in the second half. But we'll see how the bullpen shakes out. Chase Sealseth, is he gonna make the bullpen? If he doesn't, he's out of options, isn't he? So we'll have to get rid of him. We'll see. But yeah, I have no thoughts or optimism either way in terms of the bullpen. I think there's a potential that it could be a middling unit. You could probably say like a 15th best bullpen at best case scenario. I think worst case and the most likely situation is it's probably in that bottom third, probably even bottom quarter of teams in the majors. It just doesn't strike you as doing anything. And actually, the fact that the Angels are unlikely to be leading too many games means the lack of back end of a bullpen probably doesn't matter quite as much.
Yeah, I mean, I know you kind of alluded to, but what a waste of money for Robert Stevenson.
Oh God, yeah.
16 million a year, I think he's getting to not play Angels baseball, which is just an absolute joke. Obviously, injuries are completely unfortunate, so I'm not blaming the guy for kind of having UCL injuries. But either way, what a completely wasted investment.
Yeah, but when do Perry's free agency investments ever work, really?
When has any free agency investment worked for the Angels in the last however many years, really?
Yeah, it's true.
There's no one that's been a free agent that's actually panned out and stuck around for kind of more than 1 year that's been a good signing.
No. It's bleak. Let's move on to hitters then, because we haven't touched on those at all yet this season. And I think, again, it's much of a case of wait and see. I think the lineup's weaker than it was the start of last season, quite frankly. Losing Taylor Ward from this lineup is big. I don't think we've replaced that bat at all. The friend of the show was just consistent. Yes, up and down in terms of performance during the season, but consistent in terms of what he was bringing to the lineup. It's all on Trout staying healthy. I mean, the fact you look at that lineup and really you don't see where production and runs batted in and home runs, etc., are going to come from unless Trout is healthy. Zach Neto, we know, superstar. We love him. He's going to be great. Beyond that, I mean, Soler has to bounce back and stay healthy. Hit 2 home runs last night against the Dodgers, so fingers crossed that's something. But he's going to be batting like 4th or 5th in this lineup, which in itself shows how weak we are, I think. The second base question is still there. Who is going to start at second base? Candelario's had a great spring as a bounce-back candidate. As we talk about, those never work for the Halos. We've seen this kind of happen in spring before, haven't we, with players, and it doesn't translate into the regular season. Sano, for example. But then I think perhaps you've got Adam Frazier still in camp. There's a few options. I think Vaughn Grissom's going on IL, so not going to be him. Few options there. Shanuel, you know what you're getting. Moncada, will he stay healthy? So many injury concerns here. Josh Lowe, another one. Can he stay healthy? Where do we start with this lineup? I mean, let's take it from positives. Toby, where do you think production is going to come from? Who are you looking forward to seeing this season? And who do you think are going to be the standout offensive players for the Angels?
Well, I mean, your only production's coming from your top 2 in your lineup, maybe, if you're keeping Trout at second. And it's Neto and Trout, and that's pretty much where all the hope lies. And I'm looking forward to seeing how much Neto's progressed. Obviously, he didn't even have a full off season last year, coming away from the hurt shoulder coming into last year. So with a full off season program, how has he progressed? Can he hit 30-30? Can he put himself into the leading conversation of shortstops in Major League Baseball? It's probably, I mean, in my fandom anyway, it's the deepest that the shortstop position has been league wide in a long time, I believe. So yeah, can Neto put himself in the top kind of 2, top 3 conversation? So looking forward to seeing that. And yeah, Trout hopefully staying healthy. Like you say, everything's just on health. Can he stay healthy? Soler should be DHing a lot more, which he says will keep him healthier. So let's hope. You didn't mention actually Joe Adell, who hit career high 37 home runs last year.
I thought about Joe Adell, but then I thought I'd leave him to you for the positives.
Yeah, he's definitely, hopefully he can build on that and kind of keep improving. He finally put it together last year and, like I say, hit those 37 home runs. Can he do it again? I really hope so, because we've said for a long time that we wished Joe Adell would put it together. You thought he would be a DFA or trade candidate coming into last year, and he proved you wrong. So hopefully he can. Maybe we need to say something negative about him again, because I feel like he listened to what you said and tried to prove a point.
Well, I was about to, so it's a good link into that, because, and I think this is just showing that I'm a hater generally on him, because usually after a season like that, you should give him a bit of grace, and I will. I mean, I really obviously hope that he can back it up. Do I have confidence that Joe Adell really turned a corner and is now going to be this super productive, power hitting outfielder for the next 5 years, whatever, for the Angels? No, I don't. I don't trust him to do it. I'm glad that he won't be playing centre field much this year. I think that probably had an impact as well. I think he's probably better in the corners, but I worry about that. I worry that now you said, obviously, Soler may be healthier playing DH. What does it mean for Mike Trout? I know he's so insistent on playing centre field and being out there, but we've just seen it time and time again over the last half a decade. It's just injury after injury, and it has to be partly contributed to playing the outfield and a very challenging outfield position, which clearly is having an impact on whether he can stay healthy. So that worries me. Josh Lowe he had a big year a few years ago, but has been injured pretty much since. And with our track record, I mean, why do you pair up a franchise that gets so many injuries and is probably cursed with guys that are injured. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me why we continue to go down this path of signing these injured guys, a franchise that seems to struggle with it anyway.
Yeah, you'd think they'd try and look for some Iron Men who have the capability and have shown over a long stretch of time that they can play 130, 140 games plus, but they don't. They sign guys like Johan Roncalli, who couldn't stay healthy in an Angel uniform last year. You sign guys like Josh Lowe, who can't stay healthy. And it's maybe because they're the only guys that they can sign, and they'll go, you might be injured a lot, but the few games that you can play, you might make an impact. And then it's just more excuses to rush more guys through to the majors. I am concerned about the other corner outfield spot because Josh Lowe hasn't been healthy throughout spring either, with both obliques not being particularly healthy. And it's who else takes that spot? And then that becomes a big concern. Because then if you're putting somebody like Adam Frazier out in left field, you then rely on Christian Moore to play second, who, if we're being honest, didn't look great last year in the majors. Needs to have made a major leap forward to look anything like league average. And that's a big ask for a guy into his second year in the majors.
You surprised that Christian Moore and Kyron Paris were both optioned? I mean, it actually goes against everything we just talked about on the pitching side, where they have gone with some veterans and gone with some guys that don't have quite the upside, but are clearly more ready to be playing every day in the majors, and letting Moore and Paris actually continue to develop.
No, I'm not surprised because they have Vaughn Grissom and Ozzy Peraza, who are both out of options. So they either need to stick on the team or they have to DFA them. So I think they kind of thought, well, may as well keep the guy. Ozzy Peraza they obviously traded for at last year's trade deadline. So they want to kind of keep him around since they invested enough in him to trade for him last year, and he's out of options. So they don't want to kind of see him go down. So they move the guys with options instead.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure we'll see them both up in the majors at some point, probably sooner rather than later, knowing the way the Angels do things. Moncada at third base. We all hoped we were going to get a big third base upgrade this offseason, I think, whether that was by trade or free agency. Obviously didn't come. He actually looked quite good when he played last year. He was by far and away one of the better players we had on this team when he was on the field. Unfortunately, as with anything Angels, he wasn't on the field all that much. And so it's really hard to judge. And I think that's been the same for him the last few years before he came to the Angels as well. Do we have any sort of optimism that he's going to be able to stick at third and stay healthy?
If he stays healthy, he has proven to be a pretty good player. Obviously, he played quite well when he did play in a White Sox uniform, going back a couple of years now. So, yeah, there is hope that he can put that together and stay healthy, but that's always a concern with him. I think it was mentioned that he had come into spring looking lighter and looking leaner, so hopefully, obviously, best shape in the life, that's what everyone comes into spring looking into, as they should. But yeah, hopefully losing a few pounds hopefully helps him stay a bit healthier. Same with Jorge Soler, who has trimmed down a little bit, so hopefully those two, losing a little bit of weight, shedding a little bit off the frame, can help them stay a little bit healthier this season.
The final two I wanted to touch on then. One is a massive bounce back candidate, which is Logan O'Hoppe. And actually, I think a lot of where I was going earlier with where the Angels are, I think a lot rests on O'Hoppe's bat to be what we know he can be versus what he was last year. And the second one is Nolan Shanuel, where I had high hopes for him last year and he didn't really kick on. I thought maybe the power might develop a bit quicker than it has. So where do you see those two coming into this year and in their place in this lineup?
With Shanuel, you know what you're going to get at this point. We've seen it for the last kind of 2+ years that he's going to be the outlier first baseman where he doesn't hit for much power, but will hit a few home runs. He's never going to have high back speed or barrels, or he's never going to kind of hit the ball the hardest, but he might squeeze a couple of extra home runs over the fence. hopefully he's been doing some more standing up for entire days like he was coming into last year, which gave him a few extra home runs. So, if you're doing some more standing up, then he might hit a few more and might finally crack 20. But yeah, I think, he's going to hit for contacts. He's going to hit balls that are out of the zone. He's not going to strike out too much, and that's what you're going to get. And yeah, O'Hoppe has to bat. I don't know if he will, because I think Travis d'Arnaud has been more than serviceable. So I don't know how that split goes with O'Hoppe and d'Arnaud. And I think it will be very much a case of who's got the half the bat, because O'Hoppe defensively is obviously a lot weaker than d'Arnaud, and offensively he's not proven enough to displace him and kind of offset those defensive limitations that he's got. So he needs to improve offensively based off last year, and we kind of saw him do it the year before, and yeah, hopefully he can bounce back. And I think he just needs to kind of think a little bit less. I think he was thinking too much, and the struggles were getting in his head a bit too much. He's a really competitive guy, obviously, and I think that was just getting in his head. So I just think he needs to process things a little bit better, and just kind of not think about it. If he has a couple of bad ABs, just kind of put them behind him and go work on the next one.
Yeah, you got to hope that with Suzuki in there and another year with Travis, because his catching was terrible as well. It wasn't just the hitting; it was probably the worst starting catcher in the majors. So we need to see big improvements. But I'm more confident on that one than some of the others. Let's do a very quick round then in terms of predictions on these players. Let's do home run totals. So I'll just run through very quick. Joe Adele, he had 37 last year. What does he get this year?
33.
I'm going to go with 29. Zach Neto, who had 26 last year.
31. I think he joins a 30-30 club this year.
I was going to agree with you. I'll just go with 30. It's on the nose, but I think big step forward again for Zach. Trouty, who had 26 last year.
I do think that trying to hit home run, was it home run number 300 or that it really kind of, it couldn't get there for ages. So I think now that monkey's off his back, Trout gets up to where he has been. I think Trout hits 41.
Wow. I mean, I would love that. That means he's healthy all year. I mean, the problem with Trout is health as usual. I'm going to say he hits 27, very similar to last year. I think he'll have some streaky spells where he hits them, and then some spells where he's out, injured, or just timing seems to be completely off. Logan O'Hoppe then, who got 19 last year.
22. I think he might hit a couple more.
I was going to go 22, so let's stick with it. That's the score for him, 22. Yohan Moncada, who had 12.
Like you say, with Trout, health is the big question. If he can stay healthy, he's in for over 20. So we'll go just 20 on the nose, just kind of conservatively.
That'd be massive if he gets 20. I'm going to go with 8 for that one. Just not trusting the health, I think. Nolan, he had 12 last year as well.
15. He gets a couple more.
Yeah, I like it. I worry that he probably won't, but let's go with an optimistic 17 for Shanuel,
Wow.
Getting himself up there. Soler also had 12 last year.
Again, health is a big question. I'm banking on everyone staying healthy. If he's healthy, Soler, he's been bombing in spring. If he can keep that going, he easily gets to 30 plus. So let's go 32 for Soler.
Wow. Again, I'm not going to be so optimistic. I'm going to go 18 for Soler. That brings us to Josh Lowe, who I didn't hit many last year because he was injured.
I don't think he can stay healthy this year either. 7.
Yeah, I'll go with 10. Get him into double figures. But do you want to do some pitchers? Should we do just the rotation?
Sure.
Let's do wins then. What's the record for Soriano?
Last year, he was the Angels' best with 10 wins. I think he gets a few more than that this year. I think he goes 13 and 7.
And how many strikeouts?
Well, they say that kind of the base mark for pitchers kind of getting to the 200 inning mark, which Soriano still didn't get to last year, I don't think.
6.9 last year.
Yeah, so if he can get to kind of closer to 200, he's probably looking at about, if he can have the swing and miss, let's say 190 strikeouts.
That's nice. That'd be a good season. I'm going to go with 10 and 12 record with 185 strikeouts, I think. Maybe, we need him healthy, a few more innings, but definitely got that strikeout potential. What about Kikuchi then? Who went 7-11 last year with 174 strikeouts in 178 innings.
I think he does something similar again. Probably kind of somewhere around the 7-8 win mark. I think because the Angels have got the potential to have so much power in the lineup, there might not be many games where it's on the starting pitching where they're losing games in the kind of the first few innings. So Kikuchi, probably 7-8 wins. Yeah, somewhere similar with the losses again. And Kikuchi, year older, potentially the strikeout numbers slow down a little bit. So maybe 160 strikeouts or 150, 160 strikeouts, somewhere around there.
I'm going to say he wins 10 games, the same as Soriano, but goes 10 and 8 in those games. And I think strikeouts will be similar to last year, but slightly down, as you said. I'm going to go 169 on those. So very, very similar. Reed Detmers is the interesting one. How does Reed do back in the rotation?
I think Reed Detmers goes 3 and 8 as a starter, and they move him back into the bullpen.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't start the season very well. He has his first 2 games, looks like he never left, and he's like, this is the guy who was in the bullpen last year, and he's fantastic. The wheels fall off, and he comes out of games after 3-4 innings, quite a few games in a row, and then they go, okay, let's move him back to the bullpen. So I think he goes maybe not even 3 and 8. I think he goes 2 and 5, and then they move him back into the bullpen, and then he kind of wins some games out of the bullpen. So I think he'll end up at kind of 7 and 6, somewhere around there, but kind of gets about 100-ish strikeouts because he doesn't play a lot of innings.
I wish I didn't agree with you in terms of losses. I can see it being. I'm going to go 5 and 12. I think he'll stick in the rotation. I think the strikeout numbers will be high because when he does play, he will strike guys out. I'm going to go 5 and 12 with 153 strikeouts. I think you're right. He probably will have a spell where he maybe goes on the Phantom IL or maybe into the bullpen. I'd be surprised if it's back into the bullpen, but I could see a spell where he's taken out a bit and just given some time. I won't bother with Kahanowitz and Johnson because, quite frankly, I'm not sure how long they're going to stick around in the rotation. So let's just move on to the overall team record and predictions then, Toby. Before we get onto that, I know you've got a few of the stats from last year. So do you want to just share some of what we went with last year and how it went?
Yeah, so obviously we just heard this year's predictions. So our kind of home run leader predictions last year and RBI predictions, because we'll just put those together. You said Mike Trout for both. I said Jorge Soler for both. Obviously, we heard that Joe Adele got 37 home runs, and Taylor Ward was the RBI leader with 103. The only Halo to get over 100 RBIs last year. Stolen bases. You thought that Neto would breach the 30 mark, getting 34, and I thought it would be Luis Vanhoover with 26. Actually turned out with Neto with 26, so you kind of mix our answers together and we got there. So yeah, hopefully Neto can reach the 30 threshold and get this 30-30 season. And then wins, you thought that Kikuchi would lead with 14. I thought Soriano would lead with 12. Soriano actually led the team with 10 last year. Kyle Hendricks was second with 8. Kikuchi was third with 7.
I'd almost forgotten he played for the Angels. long
off into the sunset now with retirement.
I don't blame him. Long live King Geefy as well. Beefy Geefy, as Dave Evans would call him. I hope he has a great year in Milwaukee.
Yeah, for a successful ball club.
Exactly.
Imagine what that's like.
Oh, God. One day. Speaking of that, predictions-wise for the team, the last 3 years, they have gone 73-89, 63-99, and 72-90. It's not been good. What did we predict last year?
I predicted the Angels go 18-82, and you predicted them to go, I think it was 65-97.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't get their 100 last season again, which obviously proved to be pretty close.
Yeah, so they improved last season, but I don't think they really improved. I think they just had a few more fortunate victories, but they still weren't great. So, Toby, as we've just previewed this season ahead, what do you think the Angels' record will be for the upcoming season?
I think they finally break through the 100 loss threshold, and they go 60-102. The good news is, if they do that, they are eligible for the draft lottery this year again. So, not all hope is lost, because if they are bad this year, they have the chance at the number 1 pick in the 2027 draft. So that's my positive spin on a terrible record.
Have the opportunity to waste a number 1 pick, most likely, on some fast-rising college player that will sign massively under slot. I could see 100 losses easily, but I will try and keep it slightly more optimistic. I think they're going to be just above the threshold once again. And I will go with 67 wins. 67, I think they'll get to this year.
Don't push the boat out too much.
No, I mean, they're not very good, are they? Let's be honest. I saw an article. Yeah, Fletcher put it. I can't remember. I didn't read it. Which player said, everyone expects us to keep losing, so it's time for us to prove them wrong. Yeah, it is. Please, please, please prove us wrong. But it's not going to happen. They are not very good. And it's going to be pretty miserable supporting them once again for your whole fandom, basically. Unfortunately for me, I have memories when I first started watching them. A, they won the World Series the first time. And B, when I really got into the team, they were really good. I mean, that 2019 should have won it all, quite frankly. But we had that spell, didn't we, where we were just making the playoffs every year and a really good team. And since you've come on board, it has been... I don't know how you've done it. I don't know how you stick with it still.
I think just being a stubborn Brit, and when we choose teams, we don't change out of them. The Athletic recently published their kind of article on do you have hope for your ball club this year? And I kind of put a comment in there that no, I don't have hope. I've been a fan of this team for coming into my 9th season, and I've never seen them have a positive win-loss record. I've never seen him in the playoffs. I've heard about this superstar called Mike Trout, who hasn't been healthy basically the entire time I've watched them. They had 2 of the best players, when we look back at it, to have ever played baseball, and still couldn't get to the playoffs. So I feel like I can be allowed to not have expectations. Yes, definitely David Fletcher.
It's been miserable for you, but this is the only time of year you can ever have any positivity and hope for the Angels. So I'll go into opening day hoping they do go and prove us wrong. This is the year that everything comes together. Zach Neto has an MVP year. Mike Trout has another MVP type year. We all bounce back, and the pitching is really good, and the youngsters come up, and they don't need any more developing and seasoning in the minors because they're ready for Major League Baseball. But let's see. Hopefully this is the final year of Artie Moreno. Fingers crossed. You never know. I mean, the sale talk is slightly reignited. I think it's bubbling under the surface somewhere. We haven't had any sort of real indication. But I don't know. The interview he did, the one interview, it did suggest maybe selling the team is on his mind. I know we had a question in our Angels group chat from Phineas around the Rams owner, the Kroenke family, and they obviously own Arsenal as well, and whether they might be a potential suitor. Who knows? There's loads of wealthy people in Southern California. I do know that. I don't think the Angels would have any shortage of buyers should they be on the market. But fingers crossed, because that's ultimately what this franchise needs now.
Yeah, I guess the only kind of question when it comes to it is how big is the sale price? I mean, you look at kind of what some teams have gone for recently in their sales, and it's just astronomical figures of money. And do you want to pay that for a ball club who has a lease expiring on the stadium, a very old and tired stadium at that, and not a very successful on-field product or development system? It's whoever invests the money into the team is going to have to spend.
You're buying the location. You're buying a fan base that is pretty good. You're buying the potential as opposed to what we've got now. I mean, 3 billion was what was rumored last time when it was up for sale. You look around other sports, the Seahawks on the market at the moment, you're talking like 9 billion for that. A potential expansion NBA team in Seattle as well, you're talking 9 to 11 billion there. It's huge astronomical funds. And actually, if you look at baseball, 3 billion versus that, especially with the market and the way there are definitely opportunities there to expand, particularly into like the Japanese market, as we did with Otani. There's potential to go harder there again, I think, at some point. The TV deal, we haven't talked about that, but the TV deal where the Angels have now taken it in-house, got their own network. They can guarantee some income that way as well. Yeah, let's see. I mean, I think the ownership stuff is going to bubble on and continue for as long as Moreno's there. People are going to feel the way they feel. But hopefully it is the last season of it.
I think it will be something that comes out of nowhere as well. It won't be something that's kind of rumoured and there's then kind of large rumours and large whispers. I think it will very much be the news piece will come out, Angels agree to a sale. It won't be that they're rumoured talking to or exploring a sale. It will be they're sold.
Yeah, and hopefully very soon. On Phineas's question, the other thing he said was, and we've talked about worst case because I think worst case is basically what we're predicting. What do you think the best case is for this Angels team this year? If you're being optimistic, take that hat off and put your optimistic one on. Put your Angels one on. What's the optimistic Angels prediction?
Optimistic Angels prediction is, I mean, the Angels come third place in the division and don't look disgraceful, I guess. Mike Trout stays. Everyone who wants to stay healthy stays healthy, plays over 130 games. That's kind of your best case scenario. It's not going to lead to kind of many more wins than we're predicting, but if everyone stays healthy and Mike Trout can look at least somewhat back to his old self in centre field, that's probably close to your best case scenario.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think best case is about 75 wins at most, with everyone healthy all year, and you see some steps from the players, the young players, and more steps forward. Yeah. All right. Finally, then, Toby, I believe we've got some halos or hell nos to end the show.
We do, and we've kind of spoken about some of this already, but let's get your instant halo or hell no reaction to them. So first up, we've got Mike Trout plays at least 120 games. So just for some context, he played 130 last year, which was the first time he reached that threshold since 2019. Obviously, we had the 2020 shortened COVID season.
If he was DHing, I would have said maybe, but on the field, he's going to be injured. Hell no. Don't think he makes it, unfortunately.
Well, that's not a good start. Zach Neto is the Angels' only All-Star, so I'm making only All-Star kind of the big point there. Kikuchi was the only All-Star last year because of how bad the Angels were, so Zach Neto is the only Angels All-Star this year.
So I'm going to say hell no there, but not for the reason that I think we're going to have more than one. I think, as you touched on earlier, I think the shortstop position is very difficult and challenging. There's loads of good shortstops across the league right now.
Especially the AL.
I think the Angels will end up having maybe Soriano in the All-Star game. I think it will be a pitcher. Whoever is the best starter will be thrown in there. I really can't see an Angels position player making the All-Star team this season.
Not even Trouty being back to his best.
If Trout's back, then he will be because he gets voted in on name only every year, regardless. But yeah, let's see.
So the Angels obviously lost Taylor Ward last year, but they finished third in the season in home runs with 226 as a collective. So my question is, the Angels lead Major League Baseball this year in home runs.
I don't really need to answer that one, do I?
Can I convince you a top three to change it to a halo?
I'm just so down on this team. It's really hard. But when we were going, in fairness, let's go with Halo. Why not? When we were going through the lineup, there is some power there. Some guys we're predicting to bounce back. If Adele has another big year, if Trout has a big year, if Soler has a big year, it's all big ifs and buts. But if Hoppy bounces back again, possibly. I just don't think so. I think when Aaron Judge is going to hit 60 of them on his own, I don't think we're going to compete with that.
Yeah, and a few players that are looking like they could progress in the end as well. So after being statistically MLB's worst starting pitcher last year, Jack Gahanowicz sticks in the rotation the entire season.
Hell no. I think he makes it maybe to May, if we're lucky.
They were stubborn with him last year.
I just don't think they need to be so stubborn with him this year because it does depend on health of others. But I think there's potential for different prospects to come up and fill that gap if he's not performing. So I'm going to say hell no. I just don't have any confidence in him.
And finally, I'll end with a pessimistic one, since you've got a very pessimistic tone to these so far. And Ben Joyce doesn't play until after the All-Star break. He's currently expected to return in May from his shoulder surgery, but he doesn't play a game for the Angels until after the All-Star break.
That's a good one. I'm going to be optimistic and say hell no that he does, and he's back at some time in June. He makes it, sometime before the midpoint of the season. So let's hope so. Then he might be injured again by the All-Star break. I won't rule that out. But I think he might come back before he has more inflammation in that shoulder.
Oh, I thought we'd finally end you on an optimistic tone. Way to bring it down.
Oh, this is all good fun, isn't it? Anyway, opening day is just around the corner. Thursday, finally baseball is back. I'm actually really excited. There's nothing better than having 6 months of Angels baseball to watch when we want to in the middle of the night. If you can't sleep, if you're an insomniac, it's perfect. I'm really excited to get...
It will help put you to sleep, that's for sure.
True. I'm really excited to get Gooby, Erica and Wayne back on our screens. Patrick O'Neill's back as well. I'm really glad we had the broadcast team. They're the best around, so really happy with that. And yeah, let's just see how it goes. Let's just see. You never know. They might surprise us. I hope they surprise us. We love them. They are our team for life. We're always stuck with them through thin and more thin. And opening day in Houston. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, just to add on a little shout out to the broadcast team. I saw Gooby was hoping that you're going to make it out to the Big Eight at any point this season. Any plans in the works for that, or are we more of a wait and see how it goes?
I think it's wait and see how it goes a little bit. It's been really tough to motivate to get out there, hasn't it, during this really barren spell?
They always win when you go.
Yeah, but only for like a week, and then it all comes crashing back down.
A week of success is all we need for some content for the entire, half the year.
Well, this is true. Yeah, let's see. I might do. I'm not ruling it out. I'll look into it and see if I can find a good time to be out there and see a couple of wins.
I mean, you've been living off Reed Detmer's no-hitter for the last 3 years, so, 4 years now.
We try to keep that on the down low.
So, let's have some more success that we can take on for another 4 years.
We try not to talk about that on this podcast, though, so if you could keep it quiet, I'd appreciate that. Anyway, thanks, Toby. Really appreciated your time from Rome. Congratulations again on that marathon. Incredible effort. Go subscribe if you haven't already to this. If you listen to this, you liked it, please hit that button. Go like it, comment. We've put a few questions out there, so we'd love to hear from you as well. And we'll be back very shortly for the next episode of Halfway Around the Halo. Go Halos.